recorded. So I encourage everyone to turn on your cameras and please, but stay muted though, so we don't get no feedbacks from the camera or from your voice. So this work, like I mentioned, will be recorded, and make sure not to interrupt the speaker. The chat room, it's always open for any comments or questions you can ask over there. And you can also text me personally if you have any questions as well. So help me, we'll just dive right into it. Help me welcome Elder Conrad Aglah. Over to you, Elder.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Abigail, sorry.
Sorry, Abigail.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and also thank you all for being here. I've been given this topic to share a presentation on, that is business startups, opportunities and challenges. So yeah, we just go right into it. In discussing this, I believe there is one term that comes to mind, and that is entrepreneurship. And I believe there's no better time to have an idea or understanding of how to become or what you need to do to become an entrepreneur. So who is an entrepreneur? From what I've researched, an entrepreneur is an individual who creates a business, bearing most of the risk and enjoying most of the rewards. The entrepreneur is also commonly seen as an innovator, a source of new ideas, goods, services, and business or procedures. An entrepreneur is a person who undertakes the risk of starting a new business venture. An entrepreneur creates a firm which aggregates capital and labor in order to produce goods or services for profit. So an entrepreneur is an important driver, or entrepreneurship is an important driver of economic growth and innovation. It is a high risk, but can also be high rewarding endeavor, and it serves to generate economic wealth, growth, and innovation. Entrepreneurs are involved in startups. So here we're talking about startups, the challenges and the opportunities. So anyone who is involved in a startup is an entrepreneur, someone who is trying to create or establish a business, taking the risk and using all the tools available to provide or produce profits, and also contribute to economic growth. So as young individuals, I believe this is a wonderful topic worth discussing tonight. My experience over the years, I remember when I was in my undergrad school, I remember some of the professors, they had their own compounds and their own medical or pharmaceutical preparations that they named after them, that some of them were selling. They were able to prepare those based on their own formula, and those medications or ointments were good for certain diseases and treatments. Over here in Canada, I've come across a preparation that is used to kind of rinse the mouth. It's a combination of ingredients that help kind of numb the pain in the mouth, especially for cancer patients. And this mouthwash was named after a doctor that kind of devised or that kind of invented it. And this is called Dr. Akabutu's mouthwash. And this doctor happened to come from Ghana, and he's a pediatrician in Canada here. During graduate studies, I also came across some of my professors who had patents for prosthetics, and also other devices to help people with spinal cord regeneration or spinal cord or paraplegia and other conditions. So startup or entrepreneur will someone who will start something new or make some existing products better. So I don't want to just narrow it down to someone who is bringing something new. So as you go to school, as you graduate, there are a lot of opportunities either to come up with something new or build upon or make some existing concept better. So in that, there are franchises that are a sort of model that people can be involved in. Also, some of the examples I've come across of startups, entrepreneurship. I mean, we all know some of our parents in this country, they trade. Some of them, we also have African stores. Yes, we also have some parents that sew clothing, that design stuff. All over Africa, you will see kids selling stuff, which some of us did to fund the education or buy books and co. So that drive is there. I believe most of you have that drive as well. Over here, I have established one or two companies just so I can be myself. I can work for myself as a self-employed. So that has given me some understanding of how what it is to run a business. I've not gotten to that huge stage yet, but the opportunities are abound. So what is a startup? If you want to focus on a startup, so a startup is the action or process of setting something in motion. A newly established business or a young company founded by one or more entrepreneurs to develop a unique product or service and bring it to the market. So most often startups tend to be a shoestring operation, meaning that just one or two people come together and they say, you know what, this idea, let's see what we can do. And then they put their hands in their pockets and bring out money and then start something. So it's most of the time when this project is about to take off, that's when they start looking for money to make it bigger. So the first challenge most often for a startup is to prove the validity of the concept to potential lenders and investors, and that is where the challenge is. Come across people who say they have ideas, we can do this will be this profitable, but then most of them fail probably even before they start, just because it is a very risky proposition. So startups come across a lot of challenges because startups have a high failure rate. Even investors who want to invest in startups, they also want to look at the management skills or the experience of the management team of that particular startup or product. So key steps that you want to look at if you're considering or you have an idea or you're involved in startups include the demand of the products. So there are millions of products all over the world. If you have an idea, you want to turn that into something tangible, you first have to figure out the demand for it. So the potential of the core technology or the product to provide a solid platform for multiple markets or product opportunities. You also want to look at your competition. Is the product that is there competition for the product? Competition can be a killer of your dream. So very important to assess your competition. You also want to find out about licensing. Yeah, sometimes ideas come. Sometimes people start working on a startup. Suddenly, they hear that someone has actually stolen the idea or the patent is stolen, or actually the patent is registered even before they get aware of it. So licensing is another step that you want to look at. How easy is it to license that particular idea or product? Funding is very, very critical. So availability of capital to build and grow the business, together with the interest capabilities and the track record of likely investors. So funding is very critical. I will talk a little bit about this down the road. And then the level of commitment. So when people come together, sometimes they're not committed. We can hear, or we've heard about the big guys. When you talk about Facebook, you talk about Microsoft. Some of these guys, when they started with some of their friends, but some of them were not committed. They fell apart. So commitment is also one particular factor you want to look at. Support, yeah, you need support from all kinds of sources. So that is another area. Then the management experience, as we said, sometimes we have ideas, we are able to start something up, but we don't have the experience to manage it. That can also account for some of the failure rates that we see in the market. So as we continue, I also want to talk briefly about some of the terms that you come across when you are talking about startup. Incubator firm is an organization that fosters early stage companies through their first steps of development. So there are a lot of incubator firms around in Africa, Uganda, in the universities, and also some government organizations. So they look to nurture anyone who comes with an idea. If you are a graduate student, you're working on a research and you come across, or you discover something, invented something, and realize that this one we need to work on it further, they probably will send you to the university's department that is in charge of innovation. And some of these organizations, in collaboration with some other funders, will try and nurture you to a level where your product will become very tangible or very usable. Venture capital is also a term you hear often. So a venture capital is just an investor who sees potential in startup and decides to invest in them for equity share or equity stake in those companies. When you are starting, or any company that starts a startup, or any group that starts a startup, you need a capital. So the initial capital that you need is often called a seed capital. During the process, you probably need funding. You feel that you need more people to get involved and invest. Angel investor is one group of investors that people reach out to. And these investors, they are normally high net worth individuals who provide financial backing for small startup. If you watch on the TV, you probably have watched Shark Tank. You've also probably familiar with Dragon Dance. These are angel investors, sort of. So you pitch your idea, your product, all the tests you have done, where it is, you present all of that, the potential for growth and all that. They assess it, look at it, and say, you know what, this is something I want to invest in. Then they come in, and then they take some ownership position in the company. So then round financing is a startup typically seek a round financing when they pursue the next level of funding after seed capital. Death Valley curve. I think I should just not worry about that. Private equity is a non-publicly traded source of capital for investors who seek to invest or acquire equity ownership in a company. So at a point, you're probably beyond all these individuals, angel investors, and probably friends and stuff. You also want to open up to some other private equity organizations to invest, so you can have enough money to grow your business. So to get involved in a startup, there are a few questions or considerations that you have to be aware of. So some of the questions you have to ask is the innovation or the product, is it disruptive enough? Yeah. And if how will you categorize it? How soon can that product come to market? So if you're working on something, how soon? Is this something that will take a year, 2 years, 3 months? What is the level of risk associated with this startup? Does it have a clear application, and does it have a definable market? So, and also, who owns the intellectual property right to it? If you are come across something and you want to start up at a university where you are being sponsored by a research grant, be supervised by a professor who owns the intellectual property to that particular startup. So those are things that you have to be worried about. What will be your role in the startup? Are you going to be the manager? You have to have a clear role and a clear definition in that. Are you going to be a full-time? Are you going to be an advisory board member? Are you going to be the executive or the consultant? Then under the company, what are the goals of the company? So now, what are the plans? Is it to grow the company and position it for acquisition or a possible initial public offering? Or you just want to build it as a small yet sustainable business? So, and also, will capital from private investment companies be needed? There are people who start and they have, their parents are big enough, I believe, whatever. I don't know if I'll call it a startup, but he started a business built on his father's foundation. What is that his dad was doing, and his dad gave him some $1 million. I've come across few guys who started whatever business they are doing now. Their seed capital was from their parents, so nobody from outside was involved. So if you're getting capital from private companies, angel investors, and all of that, will the company be eventually sold, or will the company go public? What are the exit strategies? Yeah. And then what is the current value of the company, and on what are the valuation based? In what stage of development is the technology? So those are some of the things you want to look at. Is there a working prototype, yeah, or is there a proof that this can be done, or is duplicable? Also, some of the research you have to do include your identifying your customer base, and if they are paying customers. There are a lot of technology, there are a lot of startup. There's some products, because the competition is huge, customers initially do not want to pay for those products because they just want to test it for a while. So that can be a challenge for people. So when you're looking at, or you have an idea about starting up something, if it is fairly new, you have to figure out what problem is that startup going to solve. What the idea or the product, what is the problem that is going to solve? How are they currently addressing the problems? Yeah. And also, if the technology is unique to that particular problem. Also, how large is the market? I mentioned that briefly. And how much are consumers willing to pay for a solution? Startups become very profitable when they meet a need, a unique need. When the Microsoft came with Windows and stuff, I mean, we are all using that up to now. When Apple came out with iPhone and all of that, we are using all of that. They are improving on all of those because they are meeting and they are solving problems. They are providing solutions. So for startup, I mentioned briefly funding sources. I just had to emphasize that a little bit. The first task is to raise a substantial amount of money to develop the product. So you have to make a strong argument that your product has potential and is able to do what you claim that it can do. The best people who can trust you are your friends and your family. So that brings to mind, very important that you keep connected. People who believe in you are your closest cycle, friends and family. Then other people, angel investors and venture capitalists can come in. In Canada here or in North America, beyond friends and family, venture capitalists and angel investors, you have financial institutions as well. I know there is an institution, organization called Startup Canada. I've also come across Futurepreneur Canada that kind of grants loans to people, small businesses. And also New Business Grant Canada is there, Business Development Canada, the federal government, provincial government, and also other non-profit organizations. They have support for startup in many forms, either existing businesses or someone who just decided, I want to do this business and I need fund. Yeah, so those are some of the funding sources, and you are able to get a support from them. Then if you have an idea about startup, the greatest challenge that people face is presenting these ideas to people who are not in your inner cycle, for people to buy into your idea and run with you. So you have to answer some of the questions I mentioned earlier. Yeah, what problem does the technology address? What problem does the product address? What market is being pursued? So you are able to arrange a meeting and present all of that. Investors who look at those critically, and they will make their decision whether to support you or not. So what is the state of the intellectual property? Is the technology well protected? Will intellectual property be needed from other sources? Who is the competition? Investors expect that there's a competition in every market area. So claims of no competition are generally not met with disbelief. So if you come out with a product and you're like, oh, I'm the only one in the market, I'm the only one, this product is unique and all of that, they will be suspicious. Yeah, so yeah. And also, what's the competitive advantage? Why will customer prefer your product or solution over another? So they also want to look at who are members of the executive team and what are their roles. So if you have an idea and you're having a meeting, like I can't remember some of the name. The name just escaped me. You want to meet them and present, sell your ideas to them. You have to know your role very well. You have to know the members of your team, their role and what they bring on board. You have to know all of that. You have to know your projections, your revenue targets and expense and all of that. You also have to know your key company milestone. Yeah, and also be very specific on how much you need. So yeah, now in Canada, when you are establishing some of these things, you also need a legal input. So legal considerations that you want to look at includes how you set up your company. How is the company set? What representation do you need? So you need a legal representation. You need lawyers to draft your contract. You need lawyers to help you set up your company properly. You need accountants to guide you. So majority of these startup companies, depending on your goal, you probably will have incorporate companies. You have limited partnerships. You also have you could also be a sole proprietor depending on how you set up your business. Then you also have to form a board. I mentioned that briefly as well. Most often beyond a certain level, one-man business is very risky. So you may have to invite people in. Yeah, and if you ask a team 2, 3, or 4, they normally want to see 3 or 4 people and see what role they have from the start. And as the company grows, yeah, there are a lot of other things you can add. They want to see who is the executive director. They want to see who is in charge of raising, hiring, and yeah, well-defined positions or roles for the board. So board of directors should include one individual from the company, one or more investors or independent industry representatives. If it's research on a campus, sometimes on university or educational institutions, they normally want a research professor, or there's probably the students who have come up with the idea. They want them to be on the board, and they want to have a strong management team. If it's the academic research that you discover something you want to start up with, yeah, in academia you probably don't have expertise in marketing. You don't have expertise in sales, so you have to get somebody on board who will be able to market you properly. I remember there's a product here, they call it Code FX. I believe it was started in the university, natural product research, and now it has become a product that help boost the immune system and also help people reduce the intensity or the severity of cold or flu when people get it in Canada. So you need to get people in the among the board who will be in charge of other operations and stuff. Now, another thing that we want to talk about is ownership. So when you come together to form a company or to form a startup or a business or let's start this business, there will be a problem down the road if you are not structured properly in terms of ownership. Yeah. So you have to get that defined also from the beginning. Who owns what shares, what percentage, and also if you are bringing investors, who owns what percentage and what shares and what's their role. So that is another area you want to look at. Who are considered co-founders? I believe when we talk about Facebook, we only hear of Mark Zuckerberg. If you talk about Windows, you talk about, or Microsoft, you talk about Bill Gates. If you talk about Apple, you probably hear about Steve Jobs, but they were not the only persons that started each of these companies. There were more people. So the ownership. Now, if they base Bill Gates' assets normally based on Microsoft because of the shares he has there. Same with Facebook for Zach. So you have to get that sorted out, or else there will be fights down the road. Could be very interesting fight down the road. So make sure you get all of that sorted out. Make sure you get one of that sorted out. So how much equity should be set aside for the advisory board, but board of directors? What are the personal tax implications for the founders? This is also one area. I come across people who, especially in the other industry that I am here, who say, we want to come together and buy a house, and then 4 or 5 people, and they are not structured properly. Some of them, they just base their country, their ownership on how much cash each person is bringing. They forget about the management aspect. They forget about the tax implication. They forget about a whole lot of things. So it is very important that you have an accountant to guide you through all of that. Apart from the company fulfilling its tax obligation, you have your individual tax obligations to fulfill. So that is also something that you want to set properly from the beginning. There are a few startups that have been doing well over the years, but when you talk about startup, there are hundreds of them. Some you can't call them startup now because they have matured into big global organizations. So you have, if you talk about Google, they started from somewhere. You talk about Facebook, you talk about Airbnb. These come about because they are able to identify a problem, and as I said from the beginning, identify a problem and provided a solution, a unique solution that people found very, very useful, and they bought into it. That's why you have Airbnb. That's why you have Groupon. That's why you have Spotify. That's why you have Uber. That's why you have Square. That's why you have Yelp. That's why you have WhatsApp. So the question that we'll ask is, what are the opportunities that are there? Trying to research, I've come across a literature or thesis sort of written about 500 startup ideas, and I came across another one. There are 99 startup ideas. So what it means is that ideas are not lacking at all. There are hundreds of ideas, but how to bring them up and make them profitable that's the big challenge. No wonder most of them fail in the initial stages. But when you talk about opportunities, sometimes you also have to look at where do you find the opportunities. So let's take COVID, for example. COVID has actually provided opportunities to us all to bring our imagination on board and see what we can start. So at this time, cleaning is on the increase. Sanitization and keeping all the protocol and all of that require that cleaning services. So if you have a way to innovate and build upon or bring technologies that make cleaning more smarter, you can start something up, and who knows, you might be successful in that area. Medical lights, because we want to keep distance. People, probably buildings are going to be automated now, so that screening will be touchless screening and all of that. I also have face masks. I know even face masks that we have, you're going to have. There are some that when you wear it, you don't feel like going to congregation. So we're going to be going to church, right? So you're going to be innovations there. So stylish protection. Yeah, these are things that are going to be here for a long time. Even COVID is gone. Who knows when another pandemic will come? So this is something that will have to make you keep you thinking. Yeah, sometimes you don't need to do something extraordinary new. Mask is mask. How can you use the principle of masks, ensuring that the virus is easy, the particulate size is not bigger than N95? How can you ensure that you can incorporate that into a stylish design so that people are protected? So in times like these, most of startups that have endured over the years, they probably, or most of them, started during a time of economic downturn, when people were trying to make ends meet or trying to innovate. So some of those are with us today, especially Uber, Airbnb. Those started when people were trying to find solutions to some of the things. People were run out of money. Now we have skip the dishes and stuff. So as a student, if you're a student, there are a lot of opportunities there. You can do Uber. Instead of parking your car somewhere, you can do Uber. You can do skip the dishes and use it to pay your school fees. Other opportunities include delivery services that I mentioned about skip the dishes and stuff. Remote applications. So we are using Zoom now, but what else? How can you make it more better? How can you make it more innovative? Remote fitness. I mean, with COVID, gyms have been closed. Now with relaunch in most provinces, and also the upsurge of COVID again, some gyms are closing. So, but people must still keep fit. So remote fitness is another area that will be seeing innovation and startups for years to come. Cybersecurity, with increasing focus on electronic and also digital services at this time, and also Zoom and all of that. You will see cyber. You will see people's computers being intruded. You see increase in intrusion, increase in stealing, identity theft, and also a whole lot of other stuff. So cybersecurity is another area. And student in technology and computer science, or even if you have an idea, you can share with people like that. You can come up with something. It's an opportunity. E-commerce. So I have had few friends who wanted to go to the bank or wanted to the bank, and it's been very difficult. So, well, there's how do you call it? We have internet banking and all of that, but there are still challenges where you have to get a bank draft and things like that. So that's another area open for innovation. Yeah, entertainment is another area too. When Netflix saw the opportunity, they came on board. But without innovation, Netflix probably might not survive for another decade. So that's another area. Very competitive. Gaming is also another area. For the young ones, if you are very creative, you have an idea, you are business minded, you have that entrepreneurial spirit, there are a lot of other areas that you can be probably doing, keeping yourself busy and also making some money even before you start anything big. So like Upwork, Fiverr, freelancer, um, those are areas that you can bid on projects. If you are good, you are doing English languages, yeah, you can probably create products and probably train people using Zoom or other web-based technologies to train people, and they will pay you. Yeah, people um, schooling at home. The parents have come to they'll be schooling at home. Now school will be back in September, but most children in high school and elementary school, they have to be at home. So most parents are frustrated with this process being at home. So if you are good, you probably can create program or can use a school curricula and be able to adapt that to be able to teach students. Apart from that, if you are technically minded, graphics and design and all of that, you can digital services, marketing and all of that. Most of these websites you can just register there, and then yeah, you can make some money over there. Fiverr freelancer, I've paid some people to do some work for me before, and most people over there, yeah, they survive on that. So yeah, you can also be a virtual assistant. There are companies that are looking for administrative assistants either on part-time basis. Most of these I've noticed that there are a lot of them in the Philippines, but you can start something like that. Some of the places that personally I have searched, and also I have some colleagues that have searched for, we're looking for people in our community. We don't find many people in our community in those areas. Sometimes you want someone to do something for you. You want to be able to explain in a way, in a context that the person will understand. But yeah, we don't have much people there. But it would be good to look into doing that. Music, software, and application development. Those are some of the areas that you want to look at. So those are some of the opportunities. There are many. I'm not sure I'm able to exhaust all of them, but all over, as long as you can read, you can write any ideas that come up. Yeah, you can start something and build on it, or you can work on existing things, knowledge that you have learned. Recently, I had a student that told me that she needed work. Yeah, and she finished her graduate school and she said she needed work. I said, okay. Then my thought came to Fiverr and all of that. So if you are good at writing, there are people who write proofread thesis and make corrections for them. So if you're doing English and all of that, you can help people with their thesis and get paid. So these are some of the opportunities that are available. If you doing it on a large scale and you have to employ people, yeah, you can form a company. So there are a lot of them around. The challenges are real, and I mentioned them. I will just go over them quickly. Very fierce competition there. Sometimes people have unrealistic expectations. People feel that ideas alone are enough. No. Also, one area that you're not careful, if you are growing beyond one or two partners, is hiring. You have to hire properly. So that can also be a challenge for people. Making partnership decisions, that's another challenge too. And financial management. Sometimes we bring our own personal financial management into things like this. So we feel that we have some funny ideas. We feel that if we pump all the money this way, the money will come back to us. Then that's where people fail. And as I said, cyber security is one, and also winning the trust of customers. Without customers, there is no product. So you need a lot of customer research, customer feedback, so you know that, okay, your product is being accepted. If it is not accepted, what you need to do to improve it, and find out whether you'll be able to do that. Yeah, recruiting, financial issues, company culture, and also you have to let yourself know. I believe that we see that often. I know Microsoft has a different director now, but if want to hear something about Facebook, it's Mark that comes up and then talk about it. When Steve was alive, he will talk about anything Apple. So make yourself known, and also you nourish customer loyalty. So get to know about your motivation and passion. When you are starting, create a well-defined plan. Identify gaps in the market first before reintroducing your product, if there should be any competition or anything identified from the beginning. And also the market research on people. The fact that you like the product doesn't mean people like it, so make sure you investigate that very well. To scale up, is good to test at a small scale, a smaller scale. Yes, one thing I also tell people, it's also a life lesson for me, is that you don't need to make the same mistakes that others have made. Well, that's why you need to research a little bit. Once you've learned that this mistake have been made before, don't repeat it. You also have to be open up to learn from experts. Interestingly, I came across a situation where Apple was suing Samsung, but I also realized that a component of Apple's phone is being made by Samsung. So they call it co-petition or something like that. So even though they are competing, they still collaborate on some other areas. They guide their patents carefully, but yeah, but doesn't mean that your competition is evil. You can learn from each other, but apart from that, learn from the expert. Be an active leader, embrace digital marketing and all of that. Open up and look for investors all the time, and be innovative and adaptable to change. Anything, you might start something on a technology now, 6 months later the idea is still valid, but technology to take it to market or to build upon it might have changed. So you have to be open to open up to new technology. Strive to expand your startup business and social network. So in short, being an entrepreneur is a risk-taking venture. But I believe that our parents, our friends, we've all done that before. If you bought a book and decide a book for $5, decide to sell it for $10, and that $10 is actually a good price, and you made $5 on it, that means you have that spirit. You just have to look out and see, okay, what do you want to do? Yeah, sometimes our personalities also determine how daring we are when it comes to entrepreneurship or starting a business. So in that situation, if you are not someone who is comfortable or who can start something up, get a team and get people to help you. Follow all the guidelines I mentioned earlier. You can start doing something. Other than that, there are franchises around. So there are franchises where you know that, okay, you'll be able to, if you like food and like cooking and stuff like that, then you want to focus on the food industry, get the right team there with you, you will be fine. But as I said, apart from that, there are a lot of other opportunities where you can get something out of your experience. So with that, I have
thank you to Daniel.
so with that, yeah, I've come to the end of my presentation today. If you have any question, I'll be glad to answer. Let me check the chats. Okay, so there are question here. Okay, so yes, so social inventory for or need assessment, will that be a needs assessment or known as social inventory? Yes. So you just have to do the research. There are many components of different types of research you have to do depending on the product or the startup that you are having. So yeah, you just have to first find a need. If a product, if there's hundreds of products meeting a need already and you want to come with the same product, you might be buried or you might fail very quick. So it is very important that you identify that. And that is the key thing I share with people, or I tell people. People tell me I have this idea. I said, okay, have you looked at this competition? Have you looked at this giant? People come and say, I have an idea for coffee. How different is it from what is there? Have you talked to people? If you talk to yourself, you talk to your family and all of that, probably your answer might be different if you are decided to pay a group of people or students or institution to do a little research for you. You'll be surprised what you will find. Now, what is the benefit of registering your startup as a sole proprietor, partnership, or co-op? So this one also depends on your long-term goal. It is very easy to convert a sole proprietorship to partnership or corporation. It's sole proprietor is easy, but they all have a different tax and reporting system. So sole proprietor, they pay you under your name. In Canada here, what I know about this in Canada here is if you transact beyond a certain amount of money, you'll be required to collect GST on your product, depending on what product it is. Then you have to be reporting or filing GST every year. But mainly the business is your name. So if I'm a sole proprietor, the business actually is Conrad. Even if I have a different business name, I'll be taxed. It will be taxed under Conrad. So yeah, but if I have a partnership, depends on the number of people. It could be under our name, or it could be under a company name if the company is a partnership. So in that, we normally call it a limited liability company. So the company becomes the owner of the enterprise, and the company is taxed. So when the company is taxed, then you are also going to be taxed. So that is why sometimes if you have your own different tax system, and you are becoming a partner in a company, you have to talk to your accountants to know what is the implication and how you're going to be taxed. But as I said, these are advisory, or these are areas where you need an advice. And most of the time in our community, I had I have a client that told me that, you know what, do you have a lawyer to recommend? I don't want a lawyer that will charge me $100 per hour. I just want him to give me some advice on a business. So I said, okay, there are some lawyers that have 30 minutes that they can talk to you briefly, but I don't know if you'll be able to get as much on how to set up your business by just going for the free 30 minutes. So everything is paid for, and that's what you have to plan for. But yeah, back to your question, yeah, it depends on what type of business you are starting. Yeah, and how much you expect to get in income, and the long-term plan for the business. Yes, you can start a business in anywhere in the world. You just have to know the local regulation and the tax law. So the question says, please, can you get investors from Canada to start a business in Africa? Yes. Like real estate business, orphanages? Yes. Yes. So you just have to look at the international laws, international trade laws and things. So depending on how, if you have a company registered in Africa, you will be considered as an overseas partner or overseas investor. So you have to know the regulations for that country and the tax. If you are in Canada here, then you have to let the government know that you own a business in Africa, and this is how much it generates for you every year in that country, and then they will tax you accordingly. Yeah, but the problem that people have is people are not able to report this. They will feel that, oh no, you know what, I'm from Ghana, so this company is in Ghana, I don't need to report it in Canada. So they don't report it in a Canadian filing. Then it creates problem for them if they want to expand, or even when the government gets to know, it creates problem for them. So yeah, you can open business anywhere in the world. You just have to check with the legal authorities how best to do it, and accounting professionals how to set it up so that you are not disproportionately affected or taxed, yeah, beyond the ordinary.
Okay, there's another question over here.
Yeah, Elder, my question is on, you know how nowadays a lot of people are into this trading business. I don't know whether you've heard of it, but like a lot of people are, instead of working, they just spend their time trading. What advice do you have for those people? Is it better to like take your money and just invest it somewhere so it grows, or is this trading business a good thing?
Yeah, so trading, if you are good at it, is is also an investment. I tell people, yeah, you have to know your, I call your investment index or your investment signature. You have to know what you are comfortable with. And also, when you meet a financial planner or investors, they tell you when you are young, you can take risk. I'm not somebody who is good with stocks. I tell people I like slow investments, the ones I understand. Yeah, not that I've not spent I've not spent a lot of time to understand stock, but I know I'm a risk averse to stock. So trading and using as a full time, yeah, if it's a profession, you have a degree, license, and all of that in it, that is fine. But if all the money you have, you just sit down trading, yeah, you have to be exceptionally good at that for it to be something worth it. I believe in diversification, so I want people to spread, or I prefer to spread my eggs in different baskets, so that yeah, so that you are not burnt out. So my encouragement will be, if you are good at trading or you are learning to trade, yes, there are other businesses you can invest in. Yeah, there are some you may not be an active partner. You can just be a joint venture partner where probably you just put your money there. Um, if it's a predictable, can give you some level of predictable return, very safe. Yeah, I would encourage that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your questions, but because there's no one solution, um, yeah, some people are able to start a business because they have the intellectual property. They they are able to create the product. Like when we talk about Facebook, when we talk about Microsoft, they are able to create the product. So now Microsoft stock is there, you are investing, you are trading Microsoft stock just because you feel that, oh, their product will last for a long time and people are buying their product, you are investing your money in it. Yeah, that's what Microsoft is benefiting, and that's why Bill Gates will continue to be rich. so so there are many ways to do. You can put your money to support the product, or you can start a product yourself. But you just have to look at it and which area, which risk do you want to take. There are always risk. So
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, is there any other questions?
yes, there's a question here. It says, I'm not sure if this has been addressed, but for startup, at what stage in the process will services of legal accounting professionals be required, considering typically you may be starting with little to no capital? Very early, very early. And that's where we have the incubators. As I said, you have the incubators. If your idea has a substance, you get a support. There are grants too. Grants are funds that are given, and the institution will supervise it, so they are not wasted. So they will help you. And also these organizations, they also have a way of leveraging legal and accounting advice that they can give you. So it is very important that if you feel that you have an idea and all of that, you have to consult them. I know there are some banks, yeah, some of them too, the requirement is very minimal. It's the financial requirement is very minimal. If the idea has the potential, people invest equity wise. Equity wise means that they will invest some money in, and that money you can use it to cover the legal stuff and all of that. But if you are starting a one person product, as I said, and it's a sole proprietorship, then you don't need any legal stuff that much from the beginning. But if you feel that the sole proprietorship is growing up and you need to bring people on board, you need to draft contracts and all of that, then that's when you're going to be getting lawyers and all of that. So it depends on the idea as well.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, so there's someone here that says, yeah, government also offers free liaison services for small businesses where they go over their tax obligation. Yes. So yeah, there are government institutions that provides some of these services free.
Any other? These are very good information. So I wish we could have some more questions, guys. Okay.
All right. So what I also want to talk about, yeah, I mentioned that. So what you guys want to do is you are, I don't know how to suggest this, but yeah, with this forum, you can probably come together and decide if you have ideas and things like that. People talk about business. There are a lot of opportunities out there, as I said. When I finished secondary school, I have to do extra classes for students and all of that I saved some money to go to the university with. Today, the opportunities are endless. So when you go to Fiverr or the freelancer, Upwork, there's so much work you can do and just get paid. So you don't need huge ideas to start. Getting benefits among the youth here right now. If I can find someone who is good at writing, who is a good graphic designer and stuff like that, I want to see, okay, what can we work together? So you have to come together and figure out how you can harness your potentials. Yeah. So yeah, someone said he just came and okay. Yeah, kind of writing. In terms of writing, there are people who want their thesis to be proofread. I know there are groups around who get data and interpret data. They do that for research organizations and stuff. You just have to sometimes Google, or sometimes when you come to this, when you are in a university or some of the universities or institutions that you just ask for their research or their innovation department. The research and innovation department in most universities that serve as incubator labs for some of these ideas. They have all this funding. I know Edmonton, Calgary, U of A, U of C, they have departments like that. If once you approach them, yeah, they will be able to tell you, yeah.
I wanted to ask, what do you think are some of the skills an individual should possess if they want to be a business owner or get their own startup going?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. You must be determined. You must be determined. You must be accountable. Yeah, you must be accountable, and you must have that drive of not giving up. When we talk about the electric lamp, we heard that the inventor tries 1,000 times to be able to arrive at that. So the failure rate in the industry is very high. It's very high. You must have that heart of sacrifice. If you have $1,000, you have to invest, and you know that you're going to deprive yourself of any pleasure or enjoyment for a period. You have to start and put that $1,000 to work for you, get something going before people want to invest with you. I've come across people who have ideas, and sometimes when you tell them, okay, put it to use, do this and do this, they are not willing to invest one of their money, even $1 of their own money. They are waiting for someone to give them money to implement an idea that has not even started or has not even been put on paper. So you must have that commitment and be accountable.
Also, recently, there's been a surge of young people traveling to Ghana, for example, and some have moved back in hopes of getting a business started. I'm not sure if you have like your own business here and you have that like a similar experience in Ghana, but what is your take on starting up
Yes,
in Canada versus Ghana?
yes, I'm very analytical. I'm also very risk averse. So I analyze things quickly, numbers quickly. I analyze, there are a few things you want to look at when you are investing. The political environment. So in Africa, the political environment is a key thing. There are a lot of things you cannot be accountable, people are not accountable for. So even for you to establish something, if you have a connection with a government institution, then yeah, but what if the government is gone? So even though I grew up in Ghana, I don't have that. People have sold me ideas, and maybe some of them I got burnt. I would say I got burnt. Some of this is just because there's no system of accountability. I know that here, if I put some money into something, I know when I'll get it. I know the tax requirement and all of that, but there's nothing like that. So for developing countries, yeah, ideas come. There was a time someone was talking about Uganda, the technology hub, what is happening in Uganda, and all of that is very attractive. You can look at Nigeria, you look at a population of about 200 million people, the potential of getting into the market. But when I hear about people, what they have to go through, even when people ship products from here, get lost in the harbor and things like that. So if that something is not very well streamlined, it doesn't attract me. So I'm not the first to jump on opportunities where somebody says, oh, this is happening, or we found a gold here, let's rush to it. I wait and watch for a while. Yeah. So, but if you're in Canada, you just have to weigh the options. How much will it take you traveling to Ghana, going to stay? What is the legal system there to kind of protect your investment? Yeah, I know some people moved from here to Ghana at the time. They said they were doing gold. They said Chinese were coming to do gold, and people joined them, invested money in. Yeah, they lost their money because government after government will come after this galamsey. The chief will also sell the land to multiple people. Yeah, so some of this information and experiences I've gathered from friends actually um, has changed my taste on investing in Ghana, so or any other African country. In Canada here, look at a lot of data. Look at a lot. It's just not the idea that I look at. Look at a lot of factors, and interestingly, the internet has helped as well. You hear an idea is so exciting. The first thing I tell people is go to Google, go to YouTube, go to Facebook, any internet medium, just do a search and see what comes up. Yeah, then you can take it from there and go to the particular source and all the resources that are available to guide you. Yeah, and as I said in the presentation, learn from the mistakes of others and also learn from the experts. So that is when you also, after doing the basic research, you also come and say, okay, this is what I want to do, even if the person has an experience in that, and it's not in the particular field that you are interested in. You can still go and ask about, oh, how did you do this, or what do you think I should do to get to that level? I mean, if you want to run a franchise, there are people who are running franchises. You just have to go and ask them. It might be a different franchise, but you will learn some lessons from it. If you are entering an area of business which is very saturated, what are the practical things or steps one can do to succeed? It has to be unique. Yeah, your product has to be unique. That is it. So if it's saturated, you have to find out, okay, even the product is there, what is it about that product that people still feel need to be done to make it a unique product? So I believe most of you have Ghanaian parents. Even if you are born here, you are Canadian, you have Ghanaian parents. One popular food is fufu. There have been many ways of packaging it. Kenke, there are many ways of packaging it. Is there any way that it can be packaged better? Yeah, you you have thinkers around you. There are people who may think about, when I was reading through that 500 ideas, most of the ideas are very common ideas, but they package them as 500 startup ideas. So those products will be with us. We eat this food type and all of that, they will continue to be with us. But using the scientific knowledge and all of that, GPS, currently GPS is being used for what? GPS formerly was used for a different purpose. Now they put it in vehicles and all of that. You see the magic that GPS is doing. So the artificial intelligence that is coming in what product do you want to incorporate artificial intelligence so as to make life easier? So you can still survive. You just have to be careful. In a saturated market, you can still survive, but you just have to be careful. So someone asks a brief outline. So a brief outline is of this presentation mainly revolved around being an entrepreneur, being able to start a business that is an existing already. You want to buy into it, or you want to be a franchisee, or you want to be a freelancer. Yeah, things that you need. The major part was on startup. If you're starting something from scratch, you have to do your market research. The ideas will be there, and see what problem you have, solution you are bringing to a problem. If there is no problem that your product will solve, then you won't go far. You won't go far. So COVID is one example. And when it started, I knew some fee. I actually had a tailor friend. My wife has a friend who is a tailor. So I asked my wife that, is your friend going to be sewing masks? But I don't think that lady is sewing masks. So face masks, you can innovate on it. I had a classmate in Ghana who, I mean, designing so nicely, and she's shipping it around. So sometimes you just design innovation, but yeah, you can get a product and living out of that. See, so your product doesn't need to be new. You just have to solve a problem. You just have to solve a problem. Now we're talking about contactless screening and all of that. You just have to think about it and say, how do you solve any problem as a result of some of these COVID regulations and all of that. Yes. So are there any special opportunities of funding for Christians owned businesses similar to minorities funding? Yes, I have not come across many in recent time, many Christian funding. Unfortunately, that's what is happening now. Christian organizations are struggling. But I believe maybe the Catholics, I don't know, we just have to search. I remember one time, and there is an organization that will provide mortgage at a low interest rate to churches, compare with what churches will get in the open market. That was about 2-3 years ago when we were working on getting a church place at one point. So there are not many. I haven't actually gotten much detail on those in recent time. Okay, all right. Someone said PAOC. They help Christian organization. So what does PAOC means? What does it stand for? Okay, Pentecostal Assemblies of Ghana. Sorry, Assemblies of Canada. All right. So Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, PAOC. So they help Christian organizations. So PAOC. All right. So yeah, so that is one organization that you can reach out to. Any more questions?
Do we have any questions? Any more questions to ask? Okay.
All right, so another question just came. Any Christian startup network you could recommend? Now, I will have to say I have not actually researched on Christian startup. So, yeah, maybe it's an assignment I have to check, I have to do. Yeah, but if there are Christian startup network, I will recommend you join. I will recommend you join. I've not come across any yet. Yeah. Probably, okay. Probably you can start one. I believe PENSA and is it PENSA is huge enough that you can have brilliant chaps among you, people with great ideas. Yeah. Faith tech. Somebody mentioned faith tech. I believe this generation of youth in the church, you can do so many things. I have to encourage you to inspire yourself to greater heights. So much you can do. So what will you say are the first 5 most basic things you will need to start up a virtual business? 5 most basic things you will need to start up a virtual business. So it depends on what the product is. So when you say virtual business, the business I do virtual meetings, I do virtual presentations, I do webinars and all of that. So that is just the medium of doing the business under this COVID condition or restrictions. But if it's a virtual business you need, then you are coming in to see, okay, we have Zoom, we have Google Meet, we have WebEx, we have a whole lot of other ones. The list can be up to 20 at least. So you have to assess all of this competition and see what are you bringing differently. How much is going to cost you? What's your market? And how unique is the product? What is the issue with Zoom? Okay, online business. Okay, if it's an online business, yeah, as I said, it also boils down to the product. So we do a lot of stuff online right now. And as I said, if you are a writer, you can do that online. The Indians, and I see a lot of people from Pakistan, Indians, India, and China. They normally work as freelancers on Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, and all of these websites. So they are doing this online, graphic design, web design. Some of them will help you open your YouTube channel for you and do all of that digital marketing, things like that. So you go to school, you learn marketing, and you are trying to look out for a medium. Yeah, you can set up your business and then deliver that product online. If you are teaching, you can do that package. I bought courses that I have to study, and they are just digital. So video was done our package and all of that. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but you first have to find a product that you deliver online. And in that case, you also need to get security, cyber security, as I talk about, so that your product is not stolen or you are not hacked. Yeah. Then the delivery, you have to work on that. You also have to get a payment system, a secure payment system that will make sure that you are paid for your product. Yeah. Someone asks, will you recommend getting a degree from post-secondary to own or run a business? It's good to get a degree. The degree is not a requirement, I believe, in this country to run a business, but an appropriate degree in the field that you want to practice in is very, very important. One thing I've learned since moving here is that technology and a whole lot of things are changing all the time. So getting a knowledge, there are many ways. Sometimes you don't really need a certificate, but if you can get a certificate, it kind of serves as a foundation for you. If it's a degree, it serves as a foundation for you on which you can build. It opens your mind, it opens your horizon, and you are able to see things from different perspectives. If you don't, you have that, but you still have a great idea, then you have to get people to come or to come on board. And that is where the challenge is. And the question will be the intellectual property, who does it belong to? So if you have the idea, it's a great idea, but you don't have the necessary degree, or depending on investors that are going to come on board later on to join with you, they feel that probably you don't have any degree, you don't have any certificate and other things. Eventually, you may have to give up that position. You might have to relinquish your ownership of that intellectual property. Well, it depends on how the lawyers also draw it as well. But yeah, it's not difficult to get a degree, but if you are good, yeah. So it's not a requirement, but it's good to get a degree. Okay, so any personal any personal business experience? Oh, okay. Yeah, in Canada, back home when I was growing up, I did a lot of business. I didn't know there were businesses. There were businesses because they were more sole proprietor and friends to do things together. And you get money, you use it to buy books. You get money, you use to invest in other things. The target was to go to university, finish. The target was probably to get a scholarship and leave the country and stuff, sort of that. So a lot it helped. So when I have to use back home or Ghana where I grew up, I can say, yeah, I was involved in farming. It's a business. When we look at it, if I'm doing the same thing I'm doing here, it's going to be a big business. Fishing, I was involved in. I was involved in buying stuff from one city or one town to go and sell in another market. So that was before I finished school and left the country. I came here. I incorporated a company in 2008. So that's how many years now? 14 years. Relief RS Consulting Incorporated. I did that a few months after going sole proprietor. What I identified at that time was that there was pharmacies shortage. There was an organization in Ontario that was recruiting pharmacists and sending them to remote areas to work. But they were actually not paying pharmacists enough money out of what they pay the owners. So I had to come up with something like that. So they will send shift and I'll get those shifts, but the shifts were too many for me. So from that, I formed that company and started recruiting pharmacists to other organizations. That was a need-based when it lasted. And what happened at the time was that the company survived. I still own the company. I do other things at that company now. But what happened was that with Alberta very attractive to pharmacists, we got an influx of pharmacists. So demand and supply. So as we got influx of pharmacists, and also the government's policy towards pharmacy practice and also remuneration change, it became very unattractive. So some pharmacies left. We still have abundance of pharmacies, but you don't see the need, or most pharmacy owners do not have much need for new pharmacies anymore. So yeah, so I'll have to convert that business to something else, and I'll still use it. Right now, I'm a self-employed. I'm self-employed, so I run my own business. I hold a real estate license. I hold a mortgage license and active real estate investor. I hold a pharmacy license as well. So then I invest with friends in other stuff, colleagues. So that is briefly that I don't own a 20, 30 person business organization, but yeah, that's my experience in business in Canada here. And as I said, the ideas that come up, you can do a lot. You can do a lot. Some you don't need capital, because if you have to go and register at Fiverr, I believe most of you have the potential to do a lot. Yeah.
Any other questions?
And some of you who are in graduate school or in even first degree, where you write thesis, you can focus your thesis on solutions, and out of that there could be so much some good stuff may come out of it. Oh, okay. What does it take? Actually, the bar to get a real estate license is not that high. High school certificate is fine, and as long as you are a permanent resident or citizen, yeah, you can get a license. The real estate is run by boards, individual boards. So if you're in Ontario, then you have to contact the Ontario Real Estate Board. If you're in Calgary, yeah, Calgary Real Estate Board. If you're in Edmonton, yeah, they're provincially regulated and nationally regulated. So they will tell you which exams to write, and then yeah. So then once you get a license, you join a brokerage. Then under that brokerage, that's when you will be able to trade. Yeah. So in trading, you represent clients either to buy or sell. It could be residential properties or it could be commercial properties. Commercial properties, the segment of commercial properties, you don't need a real estate license. You can take courses from universities and companies. Some of these big national real estate or commercial real estate companies can employ you. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so that's just basic. So if it's real estate you want to do, there is no limitation. I've in the few years that I've been here, you can come into real estate with every background. Every background. It's a business on its own. So to be successful, you must be, as I said, some of the few things I shared tonight. Yeah, you should implement those. Yeah, you have to be able to be marketable, apart from identify solutions and to problems. I mean, if someone wants to buy real estate, it's because the person has a need. So you must be able to provide that need. To be able to, how do you call it? To be able to stay in this business, the people who you have helped, they will probably later have to testify to tell their friends what you have done. Yeah, so those are sort of market research sort of reviews for you. So if you've not done well, a good job for them, then your name will not be out there. So you have to plan. It's a business, you have to plan, you have to budget what you want to spend on marketing, what type of marketing you want to do. Yes. So yeah. So I don't know if anyone has any question you want to reach out to me privately. I'm gonna put my number there.
I think there's one general question. How did you navigate challenges at the onset of your business?
Challenges will always come. So depending on which challenge you face, you have to confront it at that level. So for some, challenge will be money. I have someone who was asking me the other time, assuming he gets a mortgage license and he's not been able to, he has a full-time job and he just want to try a mortgage license. Assuming he gets a mortgage license and he's not able to do any deal, how much is that going to cost him from pocket every year just to keep the license? I told him it might cost him close to $3,000 a year. So that is what he's looking at. But if he feels that okay, what he wants to get from mortgage, having a mortgage license, it might take him 3 years to realize that, and he's willing to spend $3,000 every year just to keep the license, then he will go for it. So for him, his entry level barrier is the cost to keep the license without getting anything from it because he's full-time employed somewhere else. Some of the challenges we face, I mean, like recently there have been this army of demonstrations and all of that about Black Lives Matter in our community 2 years. So we face some of those racial discrimination and all of that, but you know what, you you just have to, if it requires that you report, it requires that you confront, yeah, it requires that you just take some of the steps and move on, yeah, you do that. And also another challenge will be to be abreast with information. You have a product that you are selling, the competition is there, and in Ontario, I learned there are over 50,000 realtors, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. In Calgary or Alberta, I think there are about, Calgary alone, there are about 5,500 realtors. So that is a competition. So that's a challenge. So why are so many realtors, and what do they do? Why are so many? Yeah, how many of them are successful? So you have to look at that. So competition is something that you also have to deal with. And competition also have to deal with with a product. Even though you are all selling houses, it's not everybody that is going to come to you and say, okay, help me sell my house. So you have to sell yourself. So then you have to come with marketing. Then you also, sometimes you also have to go for a loan. You have to borrow money. During this COVID, when everything was shut, even though the industry is considered an essential service, if you have not made sales and all of that, your business and subscription services are running, you'll be going negative. Your budget is running, so you have to find a way to. So financial challenge is also something you want to deal with. Sometimes you have to negotiate with your creditors and say, you know what, business is this and this. Let's readjust my subscription, or maybe I want to suspend my subscription because it's a business that you have to invest a lot to be able to keep in touch with customers and to be able to provide the information that customers need to retain your service. So those are some of the challenges. Yeah.
So someone's asking if they can get into the pharmacy industry without holding a license.
So when you say industry, it's yes, you will not get a pharmacy license, so you will not be called a pharmacist, but you can own a pharmacy. You can have a joint venture. So if you have the money, you can combine with a licensed pharmacist to own the pharmacy. The licensed pharmacist will be the owner responsible or accountable to the college, the college of the licenses, the licensing body. You will just be a money partner. So if you have, at least the pharmacist must have more than 50% ownership. So if it's 50-50, then or 51% versus 49, then you own 49% shares in the pharmacy. So if the pharmacy is profitable and you are sharing the profit, you'll get 49% of it. Yeah, but apart from that, you could be a wholesaler. You probably wholesale product to the pharmacies. You acquire pharmacy products or products that are needed in the pharmacy. You sell to the pharmacy. It's the same industry you are working in. You could be the owner of the structure of the facility. There are a lot of pharmacies that are renting or leasing their space, so you can be the owner. Sometimes we come across people who say, you know what, I need a space, this place for my pharmacy, but they don't have money to buy the facility. So then we start looking for investors. Okay, unit is 500,000. We need someone to put 35% and buy it and lease it to this pharmacy. So if you have money, then you can own that facility that the pharmacy is located in, and you can make your money.
I have a question on real estate. Let's say I don't want to be an agent and I don't want to be in the buying and selling. What other ways can I invest?
Yeah, in terms of investing, there is no limit at all. You are allowed to do that. If you want more information, we can talk after this. I send my details up. I'm also told time is almost up. But yeah, you can invest. There are different property types. The safest one, and I told someone yesterday, is the oldest and most tested, is buy a residential property, what you can afford. You are required to put 20% down if it's an investment property. If you want to do it like the way it's stock wise, is you can buy REIT. REITs are a collection of real estate investment in a basket that you can invest in. So your initial capital might be less than buying in Toronto. Now you probably might get a condo for 600, 500,000 where you need to put 100,000 down. You could probably with 5, 10,000 or less, you could buy into a REIT. So that's many ways to invest in real estate. Or you could own, as I said, a residential one where you put 20% or more down and then own it outright. Or you could come together with friends and form partnership joint ventures, like as I said. You could invest in the commercial as well. You might have, as I said, among this group, you could also say that, you know what, you want to come together and buy a space and lease it to a medical doctor who will practice there, a lawyer who will practice there, or pharmacist who practice there, a pediatrician who will practice there, or to anyone in the community who want to open an African store and all of that. So you can buy the space and lease it out. Majority of the spaces, that's normally what some of us are praying for, that our parents move here and we are here, we are able to own some of these assets, because most of the places we see that in our community, our people most of the time are the renters. And if you own the place and you have your own business there, the return is very high. So yeah, if you have money, yeah, you can invest. So those are some of the ways to invest. There are more. I'm just sending my email. And yes, REIT is safe to invest, as it is with every investment. You just have to analyze properly and know which REIT to invest in. So yeah, if there's a time you want to talk about this area that I'm particular in, probably I wouldn't mind at all doing a presentation on the real estate itself. So yeah, REITs can be very safe. One of our professors who was teaching us some time back, because of his experience, these days what he invests in is REITs. Yeah. So thank you all for your time. My email is conrad@conradaglah.ca. My website, conradaglah.com. You can find me there if you Google me, or you go to Facebook, or Google conradaglah.com, or you go to Facebook, you can find me. LinkedIn, you can find me there. My number is 403-690-0809. 403-690-0809. I thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to any one of you who want to talk further.
Okay, wow. What do we say to our elder? God richly bless you so much. This has been an informative session. We are inspired, encouraged to, start our own businesses, or if we already have, maybe expand it or improve on what we have. So let's take notes of these announcements. So the PENSA continues tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please let's do so to join. And we are supposed to go back to the main session as well. So can we, as this has ended, can we kindly go back to the main section. God bless you all for joining. God bless you. See you there.
Yeah, just hold on and we'll transfer you to the other side.
Okay.
God bless you, Conrad.
Yeah, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.